Now, another way of looking at Lailatul Qadr or Ramadan is that Ramadan is the container in time of this event. Just like a cup is a container for some tea, for example, it is a container in space of something that is put inside of it, or this room, or this is a container in space in which there is a vase, or there is a table, or there is a chair. Ramadan is a container in time which contains something very special, which is Lailatul Qadr. Now, how do you access the experience and flavor of Lailatul Qadr? By fasting. When you fast, what do? You abstain from food and drink and any sexual activity from dawn till sunset. But it's not only an abstention from the intake of food and drink and physical activities. It's also an abstention from certain types of behavior. That is why the Prophet told us, if you just merely abstain from food and drink, and you don't abstain from doing wrong things, of gossiping against people or saying bad things and thinking bad thoughts, then you have gained nothing. You rugi, as we say in Malay. You have lost out. And in the hadith, the Prophet said, many a fasting person gets nothing from their fast but hunger and thirst. And many a person who stays up in prayer gets nothing from his prayer but fatigue. Now, when I first read this hadith, I said, how do I know that I'm not one of these people? I have to test myself to make sure that I'm not just getting thirsty and hungry for no reason. So you have to not only fast physically, you have to abstain from certain types of behavior or statements or gado-gado, getting an argument, getting angry with people. All right, you have to calm yourself down. When you fast, if you fasted for the first time, if you've never fasted before, the first 2, 3, 4 days, maybe a week, you might get dizzy a little bit, lightheaded. But once you adjust to fasting, you will notice that certain things happen. Certain processes slow down. You get a bit slower. But what happens, your consciousness, the quality of your consciousness shifts. You begin to be aware that there is a self to you which is a bit more elevated than your body. That you have a self or a soul which is slightly separated from your emotions. You can actually feel it sometimes when you're fasting. Somebody tries to make you angry, and instead of getting angry right away, you'll almost feel a certain time lag. Like, oh, someone's trying to make me angry. Shall I be angry or not? Okay, you feel a slight disconnect. Now, in that disconnect, there is a lesson. You begin to recognize that your soul is separate from your emotions. Your soul is separate from your body. Your soul is the location or the locus of an essential aspect of your being. And then you are able to contemplate more, able to connect your soul with the source of its being, which is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if you make important connections with other verses of the Quran, you can get some important understanding. Because Allah says in the Quran, when He created Adam, He announces to the angels, when I have finished his form, which is from clay, وَنَفَخْتُ فِيهِ مِنْ رُوحِي, and I breathe into him of my spirit, then fall in sajda. Now, Allah has breathed into Adam of His spirit where is Allah's spirit in you or in us? We are taught that what makes a human being human in the highest sense of the word, what makes the angels prostrate to Adam, is not our physiology. Because our physiology is that of an animal. We are a kind of monkey or an ape in terms of our physiology. But what the angels are prostrating to, they prostrate to Adam after the ruh, after Allah has breathed into Adam of his ruh. Therefore, it is logical to conclude that what the angels are prostrating to in the envelope of Adam is the ruh of Ar-Rahman, the ruh of God in us, that little spark. Now, where is this spark? When you fast and you see that there is a self, which is your highest self, that is where the spark of God lies. So part of the lesson of Ramadan is to learn and to experience and to taste and to know where the spark of God lies within you. And then to recognize that that is the part that you have to take care of. That is the most important job that we have as a human being in this life. That the purpose of our creation, as Allah says, He did not create us except to worship Him. That's the core purpose which every human being shares. Not every human being will be a president or a prime minister or a businessman or a teacher. Different people will have different things. Some people will be parents, some people will not be parents. But every human being has this mandate that we exist to celebrate God, to worship God, to adore God and to serve God. And how do we do this? We do this in many ways, but the first thing is to recognize the existence of God and to recognize the part within us that connects us to God. And the part that connects us to God is the nature of our spirit, the nature of our soul. It is there that we can relate ourselves to God, that we can connect to God in a manner that is in keeping with the nature of that relationship. Allah says in the Quran that everything worships God. Even the birds flying in the skies worship God. But we don't understand their language. But the nature of the worship is at the maqam of the nature of that creation. So the quality of the worship of the trees and the worship of the birds, of the animals, is a different quality of worship. Our objective and our purpose is to worship God in the fullness of our humanity, in accordance with the maqam that is appropriate with a being that has in it a breath of divinity. And therefore it gives the nature and quality of human worship something which is very special to God and very meaningful to God. And because we are creatures of God that have been given the power to reject God, our worship is even more precious. Not that God needs it, but God places a higher value and a higher premium. And therefore the reward that we get for worshiping God appropriately is a greater reward than any other creature, because it is freely given. We have the freedom, unlike many other beings in creation, to reject God. And therefore our acceptance of God, our submission to God, our recognition to God has a higher value. And that is part of the meaning of what it means to worship God in the fullness of our humanity.